Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udire Nashtabrayeshu Avadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtike. So continuing with a discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 12, the killing of the demon Aghasura, text 39 onwards. Sakrid yad angre pratimantarahita manomai bhagavatim dadogatim sa eva nityatma sukhanubhutya bhe vyuddhastamayo antargato hi kim punaha. If even only once or even by force one brings the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead into one's mind, one can attain the supreme salvation by the mercy of Krishna, as did Aghasura. What then is to be said of those whose hearts the Supreme Personality of Godhead enters when he appears as an incarnation, or those who always think of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the source of the transcendental bliss for all living entities, and by whom all illusion is completely removed? So what to speak of the devotees? The process for receiving the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is described here. Yatapada Pankaj Palasha Vilasa Bhaktya. Simply by thinking of Krishna, one can attain him very easily. Krishna is also described as having his lotus feet always within the hearts of his devotees. Bhagwan Bhakta Hridi Sthita. In the case of Aghasura, one may argue that he was not a devotee. The answer to this is that he thought of Krishna for a moment with devotion. Without devotion, one cannot think of Krishna. And conversely, whenever one thinks of Krishna, one undoubtedly has devotion. Although Aghasura's purpose was to kill Krishna, for a moment Aghasura thought of Krishna with devotion, and Krishna and associates wanted to sport within Aghasura's mouth. Similarly, Putna wanted to kill Krishna by poisoning him, but Krishna took her as his mother because she had accepted the milk of her breast. Especially when Krishna appears as an avatar, anyone who thinks of Krishna in his different incarnations, Ramadi Murti Shukala Niyamena Tishtan, and especially in his original form as Krishna, attains salvation. There are many instances of this, and among them is Aghasura, who attained the salvation of Sarupya Mukti. Therefore, the process of Satatam Kirtayantam, those who are devotees always engage in glorifying Krishna. When we speak of Krishna, we refer to all his avatars such as Krishna, Govinda, Narayan, Vishnu, Lord Chaitanya, Krishna Balram, and Shyam Sundar. One who always thinks of Krishna must attain Vimukti, special salvation as a Lord's personal associate, not necessarily in Vrindavan, but at least in Vaikuntha. This is called Sarupya Mukti. So, because Aghasura, he just thought of Krishna, so he got liberated. But because he ended up serving Krishna and Krishna's friends, he got Sarupya Mukti, special Mukti. This is nothing but mercy of Krishna. Shri Sutuvacha Ittam Dvicha Yadav Devadatta Shrutva Saratush Charitam Vichitram Aprachbhuyo Api Tadeva Punyam Vaya Sakim Yanni Grihita Chetaha. Shri Suta Goswami said, O learned saints, the childhood pastimes of Shri Krishna are very wonderful. Maharaj Parikshit, after hearing about those pastimes of Krishna, who had saved him in the womb of his mother, became steady in his mind and again inquired from Sukadeva Goswami to hear about those pious activities. So if you notice or did not notice, it was said by Sukadeva Goswami that the cowherd boys, they described it, it was disclosed in Vrajbhumi after 1 year. So he just mentioned, and Parikshit Maharaj got that. Why it was It was mentioned to his by the cowherd boys to their parents after 1 year. Why? Shri Rajuvacha Brahman Kalantar Kritam Tatkalinam Katham Bhavet Yat Kaumare Harikritam Jagu Pogandake Arbhaka. Maharaj Parikshit inquired, O great sage, how could things done in the past have been described as being done at the present? Lord Shri Krishna performed this pastime of killing Aghasura during his Komara age. How then, during his Pogand age, could the boys have described this incident as having happened recently? So the boys were describing, oh, it just happened, but it happened a year ago. So Parikshit Maharaj, why? What's the mystery behind it? Tad varuhi me mahayogin param kotuhalam guru nunam etad dhererevo maya bhavati nanyatha. O greatest yogi, my spiritual master, kindly describe why this happened. I'm very much curious to know about it. I think that it was nothing but another illusion due to Krishna. Krishna has many potencies, but the description of Aghasura was disclosed after 1 year. Some act of Krishna's potency must have been involved. Therefore, Maharaj Parikshit was very curious to know about this, and he requested Shukdev Goswami to explain it. Vayam dhanyatama loke guru apekshatra bandhava vayam pibamo muhustvatta punyam Krishna kathamrita. O my Lord, my spiritual master, although we are the lowest of Kshatriyas, we are glorified and benefit because we have the opportunity of always hearing from you the nectar of the pious activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is taking such a humble position. We are the lowest of the Kshatriyas. His grandfathers, they won this battle of Mahabharata. They were ruling all over the world. His father was ruling all over the world. Oh, I'm sorry, his father died, but he was ruling all over the world. He was protected or saved by Krishna himself, and he is saying, we are the lowest of the Kshatriyas. The pious activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are very confidential. It's not ordinarily possible to hear such activities unless one is very, very fortunate. Parikshit Maharaj placed himself as Kshatra Bandhava, which means the lowest of the Kshatriyas. The qualities of the Kshatriya are described in the Bhagavad Gita, and although the general qualities of Kshatriya is Ishvara Bhava, the tendency to rule, a Kshatriya is not supposed to rule over a Brahman. Thus Maharaj Parikshit regretted that he had wanted to rule over the Brahmins and had therefore been cursed. He considered himself the lowest of the Kshatriyas, Dhanam Ishvara Bhavascha. There was no doubt that Maharaj Parikshit had the good qualities of a Kshatriya, but as a devotee, he presented himself with submissiveness and humility. As the lowest of the Kshatriyas, remembering his act of wrapping a dead serpent around the neck of a Brahman. A student and disciple has a right to ask a guru about any confidential service, and it's the duty of the guru to explain these confidential matters to his disciple. So Maharaj Parikshit is taking very humble position and is asking this, what's a confidential thing behind it? Shri Sutvacha Itham Sma Prishta Satu Badarayanis Tatasmare Nananta Hirta Khilendriya Krichrata Punara Labda Bahir Drishishane Pratyahatam Bhagvat Ottam Uttama. Sut Goswami said, O Shona, greatest of saints and devotees, when Maharaj Parikshit inquired from Shukdev Goswami in this way, Shukdev Goswami immediately remembered subject matters about Krishna within the core of his heart, externally lost contact with the actions of his senses. Thereafter, with great difficulty, he revived his external sensory perception and began to speak to Maharaj Parikshit about Krishna Katha. So thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of 10th canto, 12th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Killing of the Demon Aghasura. Now, who this Aghasura represent in our heart? Aghasura represents a mentality of cruelty to others and violence and causing trouble to others out of envy. A snake is always very, very envious person. And that's why we read that a snake, a scorpion, they can be killed even without any provocation, because they can bite any person without any provocation and kill him, because there's so much of envy. The poison is so much poison is there. So this is what Aghasura represents. Mentality of cruelty to others and violence and causing trouble to others out of envy. This attitude is an offense against the chanting of the holy name. It may also manifest in the form of an unwillingness to help other living beings by giving them Krishna consciousness. So unwillingness to help other living beings, thinking that they will get benefited. So why should I help them? They can go back to spiritual world. Why should I give them Krishna consciousness? Why should I preach? So this unwillingness goes away if we read this story of Krishna killing Aghasura. Few verses, not too many verses. So this enviousness, it also goes out of our heart, and the spirit or the mood of service comes in. So this service mode has to be there, thinking of the benefit of everybody, not thinking of, oh, if this person gets benefited, then it will be very bad. No, it will be very good actually. Just like Prabhupada, when he preached, he did not think who's qualified, who's not qualified. He just preached to everybody. Whoever took his association and instruction seriously, they took up the subject matter, took up the process seriously. But Prabhupada always preached to everybody because he had no envy in his heart. So this is the mode we have to adopt. We have to cultivate. So this is what Aghasura represents. So we can start the 13th chapter. In fact, this is the last chapter that Prabhupada gave his commentary on. This he was giving commentaries on from the bed in Vrindavan when he was about to leave his body. Text 1. Shri Shukva, okay, text, chapter 13, the stealing of the boys and calves by Brahma. Text 1. Shri Shukvacha, sadhu prishtam mahabhaga, Tvaya bhagavatottama yannutan yasishasya sharanavan api kathamahu. Srila Shukdev Goswami said, O best of the devotees, most fortunate Parikshit, you have inquired very nicely. For although constantly hearing the pastimes of the Lord, you're perceiving his activities to be newer and newer. So they are uttama. Uttama means become not just best, but also Krishna Katha is uttam, means it takes us out of any tamoguna. Unless one is very advanced in Krishna consciousness, one cannot stick to hearing the pastimes of the Lord constantly. Nityam navad navayamanam. Even though advanced devotees hear continually about the Lord for years, they still feel that these topics are coming to them as newer and fresher. Therefore, such devotees cannot give up hearing of the pastimes of Lord Krishna. Yamishama sundaram uchinta gunasvarupam govindam adi purusham bhajami. Parikshit Maharaj therefore is addressed as Bhagavat Uttama, the best of the devotees, because unless one is very much elevated in devotional service, One cannot feel ecstasy from hearing more and more and appreciate the topics as ever fresher and newer. And Parikshit Maharaj and other sages and devotees sitting there, they were sitting there listening to the katha with rapt attention, not getting up, not eating, drinking, sleeping, anything, just sitting there. Parikshit Maharaj in the middle, once in a while, he would ask some questions for others, Narad Muni, Vedas, and so many other sages. They were just sitting there, listening to every single word coming out of Shukdev Goswami's mouth. So they are really enjoying, really relishing this Krishna Katha. Satamayam sarabhritam nisargo yadartha vani shuti chetasam api pratikshana navya vad achyutasya yat striya vitanam eva sadhu varta. Paramhansas, devotees who have accepted the essence of life, are attached to Krishna in the core of their hearts. And he is the aim of their lives. It is their nature to talk only of Krishna at every moment, as if such topics were newer and newer. They are attached to such topics, just as materialists are attached to topics of women and sex. So Paramhansas, so devotees, they're just attached to topics of Krishna. The word Sarabhritam means Paramhansas. The Hansa swan accepts milk from a mixture of milk and water and rejects the water. Similarly, the nature of persons who have taken to spiritual life and Krishna consciousness, understanding Krishna to be the life and soul of everyone, is that they cannot give up Krishna Katha or topics about Krishna at any moment. Such Paramhansas always see Krishna within the core of the heart. Kama, Krodha, Bhaya are always present in the material world, but in the spiritual or transcendental world, one can use them for Krishna. Kamam Krishna Karamarapane. The desire of the Paramhansas, therefore, is to act always for Krishna. Krodha Bhakta Dveshi Jane. They use anger against the non-devotees and transform bhaya or fear into fear of being deviated from Krishna consciousness. In this way, the life of a Paramhansa devotee is used entirely for Krishna, just as the life of a person attached to the material world is used simply for women and money. What's a day for a materialistic person is night for the spiritualist. Means whatever materialistic persons are engaged in or they're interested in, the spiritualist has no use for that. His senses, they don't even go in that direction. What is very sweet for the materialist, namely women and money, is regarded as poison by the spiritualist. Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Sandarshanam Vishayinam Athayoshitam Ha Hanta Hanta Vishabhakshanto Apyasat. This is the instruction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. For the Paramhansa, Krishna is everything. But for the materialist, women and money are everything. And this is what people are crazy for these days. Shrinushvava hito rajanna api guyam vadami te bruyu snigdhasya shishyasya gurvo guyam api uta. O king, kindly hear me with great attention. Although the activities of the Supreme Lord are very confidential, no ordinary man being able to understand them, I shall speak about them to you. For spiritual masters explain to a submissive disciple even subject matters that are very confidential and difficult to understand. So having such a submissive disciple, Shukdev Goswami is more enthusiastic to speak. Tatha Ghavad Nanumrityo Rakshitva Vatsapalakam Saritu Pulinam Aniya Bhagwan Idam Abravit. Then after saving the boys and calves from the mouth of Aghasura, who was death personified, Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, brought them all to the bank of the river and spoke the following words. Another thing to note here is there is no mention of Balramji. So Balramji was not there that day. So probably This happened on Balram Purnima because Rohini Mata must have kept him at home so that they can do some charity to the Brahmins. So Balramji didn't go that day, and that is the reason Aghasura attacked, because Balramji is Anantashesha. He's an original snake. So out of respect for him, Aghasura would not have dared to attack Krishna and cowherd boys. No way. So if Balramji was there, this pastime wouldn't have happened. So Balramji stayed home, and that is when Aghasura attacked. Aho ati ramyam pulinam yasya swakeli sampanna mridulachya balukam sfutat sarog gandhas hirkali patrika dhvani prati dhvan lasad drumar kulam. My dear friends, just see how this river bank is extremely beautiful because of its pleasing atmosphere. And just see how the blooming lotuses are attracting bees and birds by their aroma. The humming and chirping of the bees and birds is echoing throughout the beautiful trees in the forest. Also here the sands are clean and soft, therefore this must be considered the best place for our sporting and pastimes. So they found a nice place at the riverbed and they wanted to have their lunch. The description of Vrindavan forest as given herewith was spoken by Krishna 5,000 years ago. And the same condition prevailed during the time of the Vaishnavacharyas 300 or 400 years ago. Because it is mentioned, Kujata Kokila Hansa Sarasa Gana Kirane Mayura Kule. Vrindavan forest is always filled with the chirping and cooing of birds like cuckoos, ducks, cranes, and is also full of peacocks. The same sounds and atmosphere shall prevail in the area where our Krishna Balram temple is situated. Everyone who visits this temple is pleased to hear the chirping of the birds as described here. Well, now it's all honking of the cars and the scooters and the bikes and all these noises we hear. Of course, that means more and more people are visiting Vrindavan and our temples are getting more mercy, but no more birds, chirping of birds is there. And instead of forest of the trees, now it's a concrete forest. There are buildings everywhere. Atra bhoktavyam asmabhir divarudam shudhartitaha vatsa samipe apaha pitva charantu shanakastranam. I think we should take our lunch here since we are already hungry because the time is very late. Here the calves may drink water and go slowly here and there and eat the grass. Tatheti paitvarabha vatsanarudhya shadvale muktva shikyani vabujhu samam bhagavata muda. Accepting Lord Krishna's proposal, the cowherd boys allowed the calves to drink water from the river and then tied them to trees where there was green, tender grass. Then the boys opened their baskets of food and began eating with Krishna in great transcendental pleasure. So see in the background, all the boys and Krishna, they are enjoying their lunch in the forest. Wonderful picnic time. Krishnasya Vishwakapuru Raji Mandala Abhyanana Fulla Drisho Vrajarabhaka Saha Pavishta Vipine Virejusha Chada Yatambho Ruh Karnikayaha. Like the whorl of a lotus flower surrounded by its petals and leaves, Krishna sat in the center, encircled by lines of his friends who all looked very beautiful. Every one of them was trying to look forward towards Krishna, thinking that Krishna might look toward him. In this way, they all enjoyed their lunch in the forest. To a pure devotee, Krishna is always visible, as stated in Brahma Samhita, and as indicated by Krishna himself in the Bhagavad Gita. Sarvata Pani Padam Tata Sarvato Akshi Shiro Mukham. If by accumulating pious activities one is raised to the platform of pure devotional service. Krishna is always visible in the core of one's heart. One who has attained such perfection is all beautiful in transcendental bliss. The present Krishna consciousness movement is an attempt to keep Krishna in the center. For if this is done, all activities will automatically become beautiful and blissful. So what does it mean, keeping Krishna in the center? It means to do all our activities, all our thoughts, all our work, all our endeavors for the pleasure of Krishna. That's it. Not for our pleasure, not for our own sake, not for our sense gratification, only for Krishna. See, all the cowherd boys, they're always playing with Krishna because it gives pleasure to Krishna. Everybody is offering their lunch to Krishna. Of course, Krishna is not going to eat everything. He's going to take something, give something back, or something like that. They'll all play, but always for the pleasure of Krishna. And in the process, the devotees get more pleasure than we can even imagine. Kechit pushpar dalah kechit, pallavar ankura phala shigbhistvag bhir drishtadbhishcha bubuchu krita bhajana. Among the cowherd boys, some place their lunch on flowers, some on leaves, fruits, or bunches of leaves, some actually in the baskets, some on the bark of trees, and some on rocks. This is what the children imagined to be their plates as they ate their lunch. Sarvo mitho darshayanta swasva bhojya ruchim prithak hasantu hasayantascha chabhya vajharu saheshwaraha. All the cowherd boys enjoyed their lunch with Krishna, showing one another the different tastes of the different varieties of preparations they had brought from home. Tasting one another's preparations, they began to laugh and make one another laugh. So much of pleasure, time going on. Sometimes one friend would say, Krishna, see how my food is relishable, and Krishna would take some and laugh. Similarly, Balaram, Sudam, and other friends would taste one another's food and laugh. In this way, the friends were jubilantly began to eat their respective preparations brought from home. Bibradde vanum jatthar patayo shrang vetre chakakshe vame pano masran kavalam tatfalanyunglishu tishtan madhya sapari suhrido hasyan narma bhisva Swarge loke bhishati bubuje yagya bhug bal kelihi. Krishna is yagya bhug, that is, he eats only offerings of yagya. But to exhibit his childhood pastimes, he now sat with his flute tucked between his waist and his tight cloth on his right side, and with his horn bugle and cow driving stick on his left. Holding in his hand a very nice preparation of yogurt and rice, with pieces of suitable fruits between his fingers, he sat like a whorl of a lotus flower, looking forward toward all his friends, personally joking with them and creating jubilant laughter among them as they ate. At that time, the denizens of heaven were watching, struck with wonder at how the personality of Godhead, who eats only in yajna, was now eating with his friends in the forest. See his pastimes. Even demigods got bewildered. Brahmaji got more bewildered. When Krishna was eating with his cowherd boy friends, a certain bumblebee came there to take part in the eating. As Krishna joked, "Why have you come to disturb my Brahman friend Madhumangal? You want to kill a Brahman? This is not good." All the boys would laugh and enjoy speaking such joking words while eating. Thus, the inhabitants of the higher planets were astonished at how the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who eats only when yajna is offered, was now eating like an ordinary child with his friends in the forest. And not just eating, let's read further what he was doing. Bhartavam vatsapeshu bhunjaneshvachutatmasu vatsasutvantarvane duram vivishustrin lobitam. O Maharaj Parikshit, while the cowherd boys who knew nothing within the core of their hearts but Krishna. While thus engaged in eating their lunch in the forest, the calves went far away, deep into the forest, being allured by green grass. So, more about eating. So, how this eating was all going on. Sometimes boys would eat something, whatever his mother had packed him, and then he would see, oh, it's very tasty, it's very sweet, very nice, and he would take a part of it out and put it in Krishna's mouth. Krishna, taste it. This is very nice. They didn't care. It's been tasted already, or it has been half eaten by some boy. They didn't care. It's complete love with Krishna. And now, when they were busy eating their lunch, the calves went far away, deep into the forest, being allured by green grass. Because there was not enough green grass on the banks of the river. They wanted to go inside. Tana drishtra bhaya santrastan uche Krishna asya bhi bhaya mitranyashan ma viramate aneshe vatskanaham. When Krishna saw that his friends, the cowherd boys, were frightened, he, the fierce controller, even of fear himself, said, just to mitigate the fear, my dear friends, do not stop eating. I shall bring your calves back to this spot by personally going after them myself. See how Krishna wants to serve his friends. He said, you carry on with your eating lunch. Don't stop. I'll go get all the calves. And there were unlimited number of calves. We read it yesterday. This is how Krishna wants to serve his devotees, his friends. In the presence of Krishna's friendship, a devotee cannot have any fear. Krishna is the supreme controller, the controller of even death, which is supposed to be the ultimate fear in this material world. This fear arises because of lack of Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, there cannot be any fear. For one who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna, this material world of fear becomes hardly dangerous at all. Hardly dangerous. Bhavam Buddhi, the material ocean of fear, becomes very easy to cross by the mercy of the Supreme Controller. This material world in which there is fear and danger at every step is not meant for those who have taken shelter at Krishna's lotus feet. Such persons are delivered from this fearful world. Everyone, therefore, should take shelter of the Supreme Person who is the source of fearlessness and thus be secure. And this Prabhupada is speaking on his, I don't want to say deathbed, about time when he was about to leave his body. So he's saying, a devotee is never afraid of even of death, because they have taken shelter at Krishna's lotus feet. And they know Krishna will definitely protect them. No doubt about it. Iti uktvad darit kunja gahavareshvatma vatsakan vichinman bhagwan Krishna sapani kavalo yayu. Let me go and search for the calves, Krishna said. Don't disturb your enjoyment. Then carrying his yogurt and rice in his hand, because we read earlier, he was eating yogurt and rice. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, immediately went out to search for the calves of his friends. To please his friends, he began searching in all the mountains, mountain caves, bushes, and narrow passages. And there is another detail here to follow is when Krishna, it says he carried yogurt and rice. So he was carrying it in his left hand and eating with his right hand. Why? Why so much of detail? Because it is said that we should not touch our food with our left hand when we are eating. And Brahmaji and demigods, they were bewildered, but Brahmaji got more bewildered, thinking this boy just killed Aghasura and we are thinking he is God, but he doesn't even know this basic principle that you should not touch your food with the left hand. And he's eating from his left hand. So that's why he's thinking he cannot be God. Krishna had to teach him a lesson. So he began searching in all the mountains, mountain caves, bushes, and narrow passages. Where did the calves go? The Vedas assert that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has nothing to do personally because he is doing everything through his energies and potencies. Nonetheless, here we see that he took personal care to find the calves of his friends. This was Krishna's causeless mercy. Maya Dakshina Prakriti. All the affairs of the entire world and the entire cosmic manifestation are working under his direction through his different energies. Still, when there is a need to take care of his friends, he does this personally. Krishna assured his friends, don't be afraid, I'm going personally to search for your calves. This was Krishna's causeless mercy and his love towards his devotees. Ambho janma janis tad antargato mayarbhakasya yeshitur drashtum manju mahitvam anyad api tadvat sanito vatsapan nitva anyatra kurudvahantar dadhatakhe avastito yah pura drishtva aghasura mokshanam prabhavata prapta param vismayam. O Maharaj Parikshit, Brahma, who resides in the higher planetary system in the sky, had observed the activities of the most powerful Krishna in killing and delivering Aghasura, and he was astonished. Now that same Brahma wanted to show some of his own power and see the power of Krishna, who was engaged in his childhood pastimes, playing as if with ordinary cowherd boys. Therefore, in Krishna's absence, Brahma took all the boys and calves to another place. Thus he became entangled, for in the very near future he would see how powerful Krishna was. So when Krishna was busy with his friends having lunch, Brahma stole all the calves. And when Krishna went looking for the calves, Brahma stole all the cowherd boys. And he hid them in a cave. Let's see what happens. When Aghasura was being killed by Krishna, who was accompanied by his associates, Brahma was astonished. But when he saw that Krishna was very much enjoying his pastimes of lunch, he was even more astonished and wanted to test whether Krishna was actually there. Thus he became entangled in Krishna's Maya. As soon as we want to test Krishna, we are under his Maya. Now do what do you want? After all, Brahma was born materially. As mentioned here, Ambhojanma Jani. He was born of Ambhoja, a lotus flower. It doesn't matter that he was born of a lotus and not of any man, animal, or material father. A lotus is also material, and anyone born through the material energy must be subject to the four material deficiencies. Means Brahma, the tendency to commit mistakes; Pramad, the tendency to be illusioned; Vipralipsa, tendency to cheat; and Karana Patava, imperfect senses. Thus Brahma also became entangled. Although he is a pure devotee, he is seeing Krishna face to face. He has served Krishna as a creator. He wrote Brahma Samhita. He is the founder Acharya of our Sampradaya, Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. Still he got bewildered. He got entangled. Brahma with his Maya wanted to test whether Krishna was actually present. These cowherd boys were but expansions of Krishna's personal self. Later, Krishna would show Brahma how he expands himself into everything as his personal pleasure. Ananda Chinmaya Rasa. Krishna has a transcendental potency called Hiladani Shakti. He does not enjoy anything that is a product of material energy. Brahma therefore would see Lord Krishna expand his energy. And really, Krishna showed him his energy or his potencies. Brahma wanted to take away Krishna's associates, but instead he took away some other boys and calves. Ravan wanted to take away Sita, but that was impossible, and instead he took away Maya Sita. Similarly, Brahma took away Maya Arvaka, boys manifested by Krishna's Maya. Brahma could show some extraordinary opulence to the Maya Arvaka, but he could not show any extraordinary potency to Krishna's associates. That he would see in the very near future. Maya Arbhakasya Ishitu. So in the shloka it says, Maya Arbhakasya. This bewilderment, this Maya was caused by the Supreme Controller, Prabhavata, the all-potent Supreme Person, Krishna, and we shall see the result. Anyone materially born is subject to bewilderment. This pastime is therefore called Brahma Vimohan Leela, pastime of bewildering Brahma. Materially born persons cannot fully understand Krishna. Even the demigods cannot understand. Muyanti Aghasura. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kave. Everyone from Brahma down to the small insect must take lessons from Krishna. So even we should not try to test Krishna. We should have full faith in Krishna. Brahmaji got bewildered, and he could only take away the boys and the calves made of Maya. The original were hidden by Krishna. His pastimes are amazing. Tato vatsana drishtavatya puline api cha vatsapan bhavapi vane Krishno vichikaya samantata. Thereafter, when Krishna was unable to find the calves, not unable, well, he is playing his Leela. He returned to the bank of the river, but there he was also unable to see the cowherd boys. Thus he began to search for both the calves and the boys, as if he could not understand what had happened. So he knew what had happened, but he has to go along with his pastime. Krishna could immediately understand that Brahma had taken away both the calves and the boys. But as an innocent child, he searched here and there so that Brahma could not understand Krishna's Maya. This was all a dramatic performance. A player knows everything, but still he plays on the stage in such a way that others do not understand him. Kvapya drishtvantar vipine vatsan palanshcha vishvavit sarvam vidhikritam Krishna sahasava jagamaha. When Krishna was unable to find the calves and the caretakers, the cowherd boys, anywhere in the forest, he could suddenly understand that this was the work of Lord Brahma. Although Krishna is Vishvavit, Vishvavit means he knows everything happening in the entire cosmic manifestation. As an innocent child, he showed ignorance of Brahma's actions, although he could immediately understand that these were the doings of Brahma. This pastime is called Brahma Vimohan, the bewilderment of Brahma. Brahma was already bewildered by Krishna's activities as an innocent child. Now he would be further bewildered. Tataha Krishna mudam kartum tan matrinam chakasya ubhyayatam atmanam chakre vishwakridishvara. So what did Krishna do? Thereafter, just to create pleasure, both for Brahma and for the mothers of the calves and the cowherd boys, Krishna, the creator of the entire cosmic manifestation, expanded himself as calves and boys. He said, okay, Brahmaji, you think you have stolen my friends and the calves and you have hidden them? He expanded himself as calves and boys. As many, the same features as the calves and the boys. Although Brahma was already entangled in bewilderment, he wanted to show his power to the cowherd boys. But after he took away the boys and the calves and returned to his abode, Krishna created further astonishment for Brahma and for the mothers of the boys, who were establishing the lunch pastimes in the forest again and replacing all the calves and boys just as they had appeared before. According to the Vedas, Ekam Bahushyam, the personality of Godhead, can become many, many millions upon millions of calves and cowherd boys, as he did so to bewilder Brahma more and more. That would really put any magician in crazy in a he would be scratching his head. What happened here? And he is back at the banks of Yamuna with all these cowherd boys who are Krishna himself, eating lunch as usual, as before, and as calves, he is eating the grass. Go figure. What to do now? Yavad vatsa pavatsa kalpa kava puryavatarang karanghriyadikam yavad yashti vishana venudal shigyavad vid vibhushambaram yavad shila gunabhi dha kriti vayo yavad viharadikam sarvam vishnu mayam girodanga vadajaha sarvaswarupo babho. By his Vasudev feature, Krishna simultaneously expanded himself into the exact number of missing cowherd boys and calves with their exact bodily features, their particular types of hands, legs, and other limbs, their sticks, bugles, and flutes, their lunch bags, their particular types of dress and ornaments placed in various ways, their names, ages, and forms, and their special activities and characteristics. By expanding himself in this way, beautiful Krishna proved the statement, Samagra Jagad Vishnu Mayam. Lord Vishnu is all pervading. Only Krishna can do this. As stated in Brahma Samhita, written by Brahmaji himself, Advaitam Achyuttamanadimananta Rupam, Krishna Param Brahman, Param Brahma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Adyam, the beginning of everything. He is Adi Purusham, the ever youthful original person. He can expand himself in more forms than one can imagine. Yet he does not fall down from his original form as Krishna. Therefore, he is called Achyuta. This is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna thus proved that he is everything and that he can become everything, but that he still is personally different from everything. He is everything, but he is still personally different. Everything is his energy, but he is not personally there. This is Krishna who is understood by Achintya Bheda Bhed Tattva philosophy. Krishna is always complete, and although he can create millions of universes, all of them full in all opulences, he remains as opulent as ever, without any change. This is explained by different Vaishnava acharyas through philosophies such as Vishuddha Advaitam, Vishisht Advaita, and Advaita Advaita. So different acharyas, Ramanacharya, Madhvacharya, Vishnu Swami, Nimbarkacharya, they have given different philosophies according to their realizations, but all proving ultimate is Krishna or Narayan. Therefore, one must learn about Krishna from the acharyas. Acharyavan Purusho Veda. One who follows the path of the acharyas knows things as they are. Such a person can know Krishna as he is, at least to some extent. And as soon as one understands Krishna, one is liberated from material bondage. Krishna himself says in Bhagavad Gita, Janma Karma Chame Divyam. So all one has to do is serve Krishna, serve Krishna's devotees, and slowly, Krishna will give the understanding by which we come closer to him, or where he gives the understanding by which we can know him. Swayam Atma Govatsan Prativaryatma Vatsape Kridanatma Viharascha Sarvatma Pravishad Brajam. Now expanding himself so as to appear as all the calves and cowherd boys, all of them as they were, and at the same time appear as a leader, Krishna entered Brajbhumi, the land of his father Nanda Maharaj, just as he usually did while enjoying their company. Now in the evening he had to come home, but all the calves, all the cowherd boys, they all are Krishna, but Krishna is going to go to the homes of his respective parents of those cowherd boys and led by Krishna himself. So Krishna usually stayed in the forest and pasturing ground, taking care of the calves and cows with his associates, the cowherd boys. Now that the original group had been taken away by Brahma, Krishna himself assumed the forms of every member of the group without anyone's knowledge, even the knowledge of Baladev, and continued the usual program. He was ordering his friends to do this and that, and he was controlling the calves and going into the forest to search for them when they went astray, allured by new grass. But these calves and boys were he himself. This was Krishna's inconceivable potency. As explained by Srila Swarup Damodar Goswami, Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritir. Radha and Krishna are the same. Krishna, by expanding his pleasure potency, becomes Radharani. The same pleasure potency was expanded by Krishna when he himself became all the calves and boys and enjoyed transcendental bliss in Brajabhumi. This was done by the Yogamaya potency and was inconceivable to persons under the potency of Mahamaya. Tattat vatsan prithang nitva tattat goshe niveshya sa tattat atma bhavadrajans tattat sadma pravishtavan. O Maharaj Parikshit, Krishna, who had divided himself as different calves and also as different cowherd boys, entered different cow sheds as a calves and then different homes as different boys. Krishna had many, many friends, of whom Sridhama, Sudama, Subal were prominent. Thus Krishna himself became Sridhama, Sudama, and Subal and entered their respective houses with their respective calves. So, more wonderful pastimes he is going to perform. So I guess we can stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments?
Amazing,
Okay,
Prabhuji.
so,
Speechless.
yes, Mata?
I said amazing pastimes are going on. What to say, speechless.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. He is amazing.
Amazing. Thank you.
Okay, Mata. Thank you. So you all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri
Hare Krishna, Jai Shri.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Jai Shri
Krishna,
Krishna.
Jai Shri Prabhupada.